Welcome to the Bare Metal Cyber CISSP Prepcast. This series helps you prepare for the ISE Squared CISSP exam with focused explanations and practical context. When preparing for the Certified Information Systems Security Professional exam, one topic that students must understand thoroughly is the various types of security assessments. In today's episode, we are going to explore three key types that are often mentioned together but serve distinct purposes in real-world environments. These are vulnerability scans, penetration tests, and security audits. These three types of assessments play essential roles in proactively identifying security weaknesses, measuring risk, and supporting compliance with regulatory requirements. While they differ in scope, frequency, and depth, each contributes significantly to an organization's overall security posture. We will walk through the purpose and process of each one, what makes them unique, and how they work together to create a comprehensive security assessment strategy. To begin, let us first define what a security assessment is in general terms. A security assessment is any methodical evaluation of a system, network, or organization that helps identify vulnerabilities, weaknesses, or gaps in controls. The goal of these assessments is to identify problems before attackers can exploit them. Some assessments focus on uncovering technical vulnerabilities, while others concentrate on evaluating procedural compliance or operational effectiveness. When performed regularly and interpreted correctly, assessments provide a snapshot of security health and reveal areas needing improvement. Security assessments are also crucial for aligning practices with internal standards and external regulations such as the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, the General Data Protection Regulation, and many others. Let us now look closely at the first type of assessment, the vulnerability scan. A vulnerability scan is an automated process that uses specialized tools to scan systems, networks, and applications for known vulnerabilities. Think of it as running a diagnostic tool that checks for misconfigurations, outdated software, missing patches, or default credentials that attackers could exploit. These scans rely on a database of known vulnerabilities, often maintained by the tool's vendor or drawn from public vulnerability repositories such as the National Vulnerability Database. The scanner sends queries or simulated attacks to systems and watches for specific responses that would indicate the presence of a vulnerability. One of the most valuable features of vulnerability scanning is its speed and scope. Because the process is automated, organizations can scan thousands of devices in a short time. These scans can be scheduled to run regularly, such as weekly or monthly, and they provide a prioritized list of vulnerabilities sorted by severity or exploitability. However, vulnerability scanning is limited to known vulnerabilities. It cannot identify unknown flaws or logic errors in applications, and it does not test whether vulnerabilities can actually be exploited. That is where penetration testing comes in. A penetration test, often called a pen test, is a controlled, simulated cyber attack performed by skilled professionals known as ethical hackers. These testers use the same tools, tactics, and procedures as real attackers to probe a target environment and try to exploit weaknesses. While vulnerability scans simply identify the presence of vulnerabilities, penetration tests go further by demonstrating how those vulnerabilities could be used to gain unauthorized access, move laterally, escalate privileges, or exfiltrate sensitive data. A successful penetration test does not just highlight risk, it proves that risk exists by showing how it could be abused in practice. Penetration testing involves several stages. The first is reconnaissance, where testers gather information about the target environment. The next stage involves identifying vulnerabilities through scanning and enumeration. Then, testers attempt to exploit those vulnerabilities, bypass defenses, and achieve their goals. Finally, the testers document their findings and provide a report with details about each vulnerability, its potential impact, and recommended mitigations. Because penetration testing is time-intensive and requires human expertise, it is usually conducted less frequently than vulnerability scanning, often annually or after major changes to the system. Now let us talk about the third type of assessment, the security audit. A security audit is not focused on finding vulnerabilities or testing defenses. Instead, it is a formal review of policies, procedures, documentation, and control implementation to ensure that the organization is following established standards and meeting its compliance obligations. Audits can be internal, where members of the organization evaluate themselves, or external, where a third-party auditor conducts the review. Common frameworks that auditors use include the International Organization for Standardization, 27001, the National Institute of Standards and Technology Special Publication 800-53, and the Center for Internet Security Controls. An audit might examine how passwords are managed, whether systems are patched within required timeframes, or whether backup processes follow documented procedures. The output of a security audit is a detailed report showing whether controls are in place, operating effectively, and meeting regulatory expectations. Organizations often undergo audits as part of certification efforts or industry-specific compliance programs. While audits may not uncover new technical vulnerabilities, they play a crucial role in ensuring that security governance is operating as intended. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other podcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Now that we have defined each of the three assessment types, vulnerability scans, penetration testing, and audits, let us look at how to implement these practices effectively. First, it is important to establish clear assessment policies. These policies should define what systems need to be scanned, how often each type of assessment should occur, who is responsible for the assessments, and what should happen after findings are reported. Policies should align with the organization's risk tolerance and compliance requirements. Organizations should invest in reputable vulnerability scanning tools and configure them to scan all relevant systems regularly. Scans should include both internal and external systems to reflect risks from different threat sources, prioritize high-severity findings, and act quickly to remediate them. Track progress over time to ensure that vulnerabilities are not recurring or being left unaddressed. For penetration testing, organizations should work with qualified testing teams, either in-house or external. Make sure the scope of the test is well defined, including which systems are in scope, what methods are allowed, and what success criteria look like. After the test, conduct a debrief session to review what worked, what failed, and what changes should be made to defenses. Use pen test results to improve detection capabilities and train security teams on responding to real-world attack scenarios. Security audits should be conducted at regular intervals and after major policy changes, whether internal or external. Audits should be comprehensive and objective. Auditors should review documentation, interview stakeholders, examine system configurations, and validate evidence. The audit report should clearly identify areas of non-compliance, recommend corrective actions, and provide a timeline for resolution. Track audit findings carefully and confirm that all issues are closed out in a timely manner. Let us also talk about integrating these assessments into a broader security program. Security assessments are most effective when they are part of a continuous improvement process. Findings from scans, pen tests, and audits should feed into risk registers and be used to update policies, procedures, and training programs. Use assessment results to inform security awareness training, refresh incident response playbooks, and update configurations or monitoring tools. It is also important to communicate the value of assessments to leadership. Use clear, non-technical language to explain what the assessments found, what risks were mitigated, and how the organization is improving over time. This transparency builds trust and encourages ongoing investment in security programs. One important thing to keep in mind for the CISSP exam is understanding the differences between these assessments. A common exam question might ask when to use a vulnerability scan versus a penetration test. Remember that scans are automated and broad, while pen tests are manual and deep. Another question might focus on the role of audits in verifying compliance rather than finding technical flaws. Be sure to understand the purpose, process, and benefits of each assessment type. To summarize, vulnerability scans, penetration tests, and security audits each play an essential role in a comprehensive security program. Vulnerability scans offer fast, automated visibility into known issues. Penetration tests validate real-world attack potential and help prioritize defenses. Security audits ensure compliance, verify control effectiveness, and provide documentation for regulatory bodies. Together, these assessments help organizations stay ahead of threats, protect data, and maintain trust with stakeholders. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cyber CISSP Prepcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com.